So those are the reports, but how do you pull that into a nice turnover dashboard? So I'm just going to show you a few ideas on how to do this. So I'd navigate to my dashboard tab. If I can't see it, then I can just use my 9 dots to search for dashboards and come here this way. And then I'm going to create a new dashboard from scratch, although you could add this to an existing dashboard if you have other data that you want it to be amongst, for example, the dashboard that appears on your home page. Now I'm going to call this dashboard turnover analysis. And again, I can pop it in a folder if I want, but I'm just going to leave it for now. If you've built dashboards before, you'll be familiar with this screen and that you can click the Add Widget button to start to build this out. So I'm going to do that. Now I'm going to start mine with group turnover. I want to get that figure. So I'm going to need my high-level output report to do that. So if I click select into there, I'll be able to pull any data from that report. So I actually am just going to use the metric chart that appears as the icon 1, 2, 3, because I just want to get the measure of turnover total. So across the whole organization, what is my turnover, which is 1%. I just want it displayed as a figure, so it's really obvious and clear for me to see as a user. And remember, you can get these dashboards subscribed to, so you could email them out to your execs, etc., if that's something you're interested in. You've got your display units. I usually change that to full number just in case it shortens it, but that's kind of, if I just go to the sum of the head count, the full number will give you, say, 5,060, whereas a shortened number would give you 5.1k. So I generally prefer the full number, but that's totally down to personal preference. So just changing that back. You can choose the color coding depending on the range, and you can get the range to show if you like, and you can change the colors to anything you like. So let's just change that to blue for this example. And then you've got your title. So this will default to the title of the report. I would actually change that to say exactly what it is, because I'm going to use this high-level turnover output report for most of my dashboard. So I'm going to call this one total turnover. And I can give it a subtitle as well if I like, or a footer. So for example, I might want to say in the footer or in the subtitle, let's put it in the subtitle, what date range this applies to. And then I can choose whether the theme is dark or light. So if I want certain figures to stand out, I might put a few things in dark, others in light, but I'm just going to leave it as light for now. And that's there and good to go. So I just rinse and repeat for whatever data I want to see. So if I go back, I want the high level output report again, and I'm going to use the metric chart again, but this time I want my average head count. So I select that figure, shortened number, full number. Again, I can change that to whatever I like, but I'm going to leave that as a full number. Again, I can change the colors on my range. I can set that to whatever I like. Again, I want to change the title so I know what it is. And I'm just going to call that average head count. And I'm again going to say this is over the last rolling 12 months. And then I can choose whether that's light or dark theme. I can move these, I can change the sizes of them, so it's just however you want that information to display. I'm going to continue on this theme, and I'm going to do another high-level report, metric unit, and this time I want my number of involuntary leavers. Sorry, not my turnover, I want the sum of involuntary leavers. And I'm going to call this involuntary leavers, rolling 12 months. This won't look very nice in my trial log as the data isn't that great because I don't update it with starters, leavers, etc. But hopefully it gives you the idea on how to build it out and will look much nicer in your live org. So let's just do the same for voluntary. And let's call this voluntary levers. And we'll add that there. Now I want to see the overall levers. So let's do the same report again. Sum of levers. So this is voluntary plus involuntary. If you don't have levers with their lever category defined, then this might not match like in my trial log. So my total levers are 4, but I clearly haven't defined a lever category for them. So I might want to go and kind of make sure I'm doing that, making that a mandatory field when I terminate someone so that the data is all consistent. So I'm going to call this one total levers. And I'm going to put that under the group turnover value. Now, the next one I want to add isn't actually relating to my output report. I want to add my current headcount so I can see kind of what the average has been over the last 12 months versus what it is today. Now, my turnover report isn't that great for that. Everyone should have a headcount report that they have as standard. So I'm going to search for headcount, and I'm going to do headcount by gender. That will do. If you're using one of the out-of-the-box Sage People reports, so you just might want to go into it and just check the filters are relevant to your organization, but hopefully you already know a report you can use. And again, I'm going to do the number, and I don't want the annual reporting salary, I just want the headcount. And again, I'm going to say current headcount, and then add that. Now, next, I'm going to add my actual turnover stats. So for the involuntary and voluntary levers. So again, I'm going back to my output report. And then I want to select turnover involuntary. And then I'm going to add that here as well. And then next is my voluntary. And then I've got those figures there as well. Then I'm going to look at my turnover by month report. So it's whatever you've called that. I have called mine. Let's have a look. Headcount by month, high level output. So let's select that. And you can display this in all sorts of ways, but I think I'm going to do mine as a vertical bar chart. It's defaulted to give me run date adjusted and division name. I don't actually want the division name on there, so I'm going to delete that off. And then I can see, you know, my headcount by month as standard. This is at the start of period, so I can choose to do that at the end of period if I prefer. Or I could use average headcount total. I think I'm going to do headcount at the start of the period so you can see how it changes month on month. And then I am going to add another measure. So I'm going to add my turnover total and plot that as a line chart so that can also display. And you can use these options here to show the values, etc. Decimal places, I can do automatic or none. I think I'm going to do none in this example. Actually, maybe I'll do one. Let's do one. I can sort by run date adjusted, and then I give it a title. So turnover by month. And I'm going to give this one a dark theme because I want that one to stand out. and I'm going to drag it along. Obviously, like I say, this data in my trial org is not very good, but as you get this in your org, you should see the line graph plotting nicely against the detail. You might want to use average headcount here potentially, but just have a play with it and see what you're comfortable with. So I think that's it from my actual turnover reports that I want to use. But what you can include is other lever data. So I'm just going to have a search in my org to see what lever information we have. And I've got levers by tenure range. So let's have a look at that one. So let's do a donut chart. And I'm going to slice by tenure range so I can see, you know, all my levers have pretty much got 6 to 10 years service. I can show the values as percentages if I want, however I want that to display. And I'm going to word this one as a question. So I'm going to say, what impact does tenure have on people leaving? And I'm going to add that. And I'm going to drag this up to the top. And then let's do another one. Reason for leaving summary. So let's use that one. I'm going to use a stacked bar chart. Quite like the look of that, so I can see voluntary versus involuntary leavers, and I can see it by reason. So no reason, and then I've got issues with manager, and that's benefits. So let's use that. And again, you can play around with the settings here. And I'm going to name this, why are we losing people? And I'm just going to do one more, but you can include whichever reports you like. And I'm going to do this as leavers by location, so I can see where people are leaving. Again, I'm going to do that as another donut chart. And I've got it by record count and location. I want to include the percentages rather than the values. Select those options. And I'm going to again do this as a question. So where are people leaving? And again, you can add subtitles, etc. And I'm going to add this chart here. And I'm going to expand this one just so it fills up the whole screen. I think as well, I'm going to make all the turnover percentages in the dark theme so they stand out. Let's just change that color so that it's not so difficult to read. And then obviously you've got your overall dashboard settings where you can choose the color themes, whether it's 12 or 9 columns, the colors, etc. So that's that. And I'm going to save that turnover report now.